but never. Them they pray make we run down, never, 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 never. I'ma get that low. Girl, you the best I know. Our next move, they never know. They never know. Money go jack low. Girl, you the best I know. Our next move, they never know. They never know. Go too rough, so you know, girl, I be feeling this love. Even when I'm down, you wonder waiting this up. It's not blessing, I'ma no be luck. Baby, nobody feel day like you. I said nobody feel make me feel the way you do. I'ma get that low. Girl, you the best I know. Our next move, they never know. They never know. Money go jack low. Girl, you the best I know. Our next move, they never know. They never know. They never know. They never know. My lady, you know me no fit give up on you never. Wanna be with you forever, 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 forever. Oh baby, where we they go? Now forward and far backward never. Them they pray make we run down never, 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 never. I'ma get that low. Girl, you the best I know. Our next move, they never know. They never know. Money go jack low. Girl, you the best I know. Our next move, they never know. They never know. They never know. They never know. Without you, baby, the journey go too rough. So you know, girl, I be feeling this love. Even when I'm down, you wonder waiting this up. It's not blessing, I'ma no be luck. Baby, nobody feel day like you. I said nobody feel make me feel the way you do. I'ma get that low. Girl, you the best I know. Our next move, they never know. They never know. Money go jack low. Girl, you the best I know. Our next move, they never know. They never know. They never know.
Yes, check 1, 2. Hi, everybody. We're ready to go. I hope you're doing well. Thank you for tuning in. It's Tuesday evening here in Germany, 9 p.m. A few minutes late, as always. Hope you're doing well from wherever you're tuning in. Let us know where you're located. We got some viewers from, there's Monique from Brazil. There's Khaled from Denver, Colorado. Who else? Ulrika from Germany. Awesome. Yeah. Kind of unusual a Tuesday, but yeah. Really excited about talking to Shane Sager today. Welcome, because it's been a while since we did this for the first time.
Yeah, it was.
I don't remember, maybe like 3 years ago, stuff like that.
Yeah.
So it's time for an update. There's Alexei from Estonia. Babak is tuning in from Iran. This is wonderful. So for those who don't know about you, it's super special that you're one of the few harmonica players that played with such big artists such as Sting, and you've been on tour with him for many years. You're playing both diatonic and chromatic, and you also write about the harmonica, and we're going to talk about this too, your new book that you just published called Beyond Breath, The Journey of a Harmonica Player. That's incredible. I mean, I didn't read it yet, but I should get it. We should do a little book exchange, I guess.
Yeah, that's the next thing in the harmonica community is harmonica book club. It'll be the next thing that Hohner catches on to.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, thank you again for having me, man. It's been two or 3 years, something like that. I remember the last time
I'm very sure, yeah.
I had just gotten off of like the longest stretch of tour. It was like 5 months of just being on the road. And I was pretty worn down that particular day. But yeah, man, it's great to talk to you, and it's great to see you again. And for those of you who don't know me, my name's Shane. Been playing harmonica for about 16 years, chromatic and diatonic. I had the great good fortune to travel for 6 years as the featured soloist for Sting. Played in something like 70 countries, somewhere along that. And it was a hell of a ride. And now I'm a writer, and I publish articles and write books about our beloved instrument, the harmonica.
Yeah, we just talked about this a little bit. It's like kind of weird to write about the instrument. Because it's so personal and so we are so used to it. And we are playing this instrument. I mean, I also played like for 15 years now, I guess. Started in 2008, late 2008.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think I started around the same time. How old are you now?
I'm 29. Yeah.
So 31. So yeah, similar ages. Yeah, man, it is a tough instrument to write about, because so much of it, like Howard Levy talks about this a little bit, that all of it kind of happens inside the mouth, and it's the only instrument that's completely invisible to the person playing it. So when you actually have to sit down and write about it, it's kind of like writing about an invisible person, basically.
Like a ghost, yeah.
Yeah, like writing about a ghost. That's the next genre of harmonica fiction, is going to just be harmonica horror. But yeah, man, it's an interesting instrument to write about. And when I set out to write the book, I really started writing the book because I started writing this Substack right as I got off tour, because I really realized that I wasn't a YouTube guy. I wasn't going to be like Jason or Ronnie or Adam or any of those great, or Philippe, or any of those really, really great teachers, because that just wasn't my style, was being on video. So I started writing these articles, and turned out to be a pretty fruitful thing. A publisher approached me called Manuscripts, and they said they wanted a book about harmonica. And I was like, cool. That's a very, very broad topic and a very vague request. So when I set out to do it, I really wanted to write it. It's basically the way that my sales pitch to people about the book is that it's the book that I wish I had when I started playing harmonica. It's a roadmap of these are the players, this is how you set up a practice schedule, this is like, you know, how you draw influence from all these different styles of music, these different other instrumentalists. You know, here's some good kind of creative hygiene that you can do throughout the day, throughout the week, throughout the year. And, you know, the process of being a harmonica player, which I think, you know, a lot of people focus on the technical aspect of becoming a better harmonica player, but very few in my experience have talked about the actual process of becoming.
Yeah. Also, this whole thing of like having a practice routine, that was like such a huge topic with a lot of my students lately. Like trying to get into this mode and groove of actually having a practice routine. Like, do you still have this? And how would you suggest people out there to kind of set this up for themselves?
I mean, I think that I'm a big believer in writing things down. I've gone on record multiple times and said how I believe very much in journaling. I believe very much in making lists. But the thing that I believe in the most is that you have to, these slots of time in your week don't just happen. They need to be set aside. So the way that I always try to explain to my students is, you know, like on a Sunday, let's say, you look at your week in terms of, I think hours are too long for people. I think that this world is very ADD, but I think that if you set aside half hours, like if you break Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday into half hours, you can find 5 or 6 half hours throughout the course of the week that you could devote to practicing harmonica. Because if you tell someone to practice for an hour, it's very unlikely that they're actually going to practice for an hour. So it's the and you know, and there's a lot to be said also for having like micro practice sessions. This is what I try to tell people about people who want to read more. Like, it's not about reading hours and hours and hours a day. It's the more micro half hours that you stack up over a long period of time that make you prolific or make you more creative or whatever it is. So with harmonica, it's the same principle, is that you need to, the best players are the ones who have gotten the most little half-hour chunks. And, you know, as the years go by, those half hours stack up. Like, it's the compound effect. All of those things end up making you a much better, more aware player. And, you know, the second point beyond, you know, okay, now that I've found the time to practice, what do I practice? That's a different, more nuanced question, because it depends on the player. If they're trying to be, you know, just a traditional blues player, you know, there would be sections of, you know, song study, there would be bending, there would be, you know, different techniques like with your tongue and all the different tongue blocking things. If you're a chromatic player, it's more arpeggiating chords and you know, learning rhythm changes and things like that. So it really depends on the player, but I think that the most important thing is mapping out it's like with working out too. Like if you take your fitness seriously, you're going to make time for it during the week. You're going to block out 2 or 3 or 4 workouts that you can do during the week. So that's what I would say in terms of practice.
Yeah, that's very true about these 30-minute chunks, I guess. I think I saw this video by Victor Wooten lately that we also talked about taking breaks being like so important, because like that's where a huge portion of the learning also takes place, you know?
Yeah.
Like while you sleep, while taking a break. It's like not while doing it.
Yeah, because you need the space from the event. Ernest Hemingway, who's a great American author, said that he would never, like if he was in the midst of reporting, because he was a journalist, he would never write about the event as he was in the midst of it. Like a lot of other journalists would do something like that.
Right.
But he would always give himself a week or 2 weeks or a month even removed from the event to really allow the experience to sink in. It doesn't have to be that drastic, but there is something to be said for taking some space between. This is why I like playing diatonic and chromatic, because I could start my week playing a lot of diatonic, and then I could take a couple days and learn chromatic, and then at the end of the week come back to my diatonic stuff. Maybe there's things from my chromatic playing that are transferable to the diatonic and vice versa. So you're never really in a rut if you're always kind of going back and forth between the two.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like I'm like really bad at like 30-minute chunks. I feel like for me it's like I'm just like starting out, and then that's like same for me with working out. As soon as you break the first sweat, kind of, you're just like going and going. You could just like, I could go on forever, kind of.
Yeah. And again, this is the thing that trips so many students up is, to get to that first sweat.
Yeah, exactly. That's it.
It's once you, classic example, once you learn how to bend, harmonica becomes infinitely more fun. But how many sessions does it take to get to bend? Quite a few, because it's an unnatural act inside your mouth that you're doing, and that you're asking the harmonica to perform. But once you get it, then it's like you can't stop. It's like you and I both box and like Muay Thai and things like that. Once you actually learn how to punch correctly, the act of boxing or the act of Muay Thai becomes so much more fun, because you're not breaking your hands against a bag all day.
Yeah, there's Monique in the chat. I've been looking for a book like the one Jane wrote for a long time. The reading is really enjoyable.
Appreciate that. Thank you, Monique.
Yeah, and then what's another thought I had? Oh yeah, and then with my students I also started to talk about their motivations, kind of. I had this from like a personality workshop that I had to take part in some time ago. And they had like, you could say like 20 motivators, I don't know if you could call them like that. Mm-hmm. And that was very interesting, like to check for yourself, oh yeah, what applies to me?
Yeah.
And I sent this out to my students, and I was like, yeah, pick yours and try to apply them to harmonica. There are people who are more about, oh yeah, I want to be part of a community, and then like, how can you apply that to your harmonica playing and practice? There are people that are motivated by just another colleague who's just playing better, whatever, stuff like that.
That's a very powerful motivator.
Yeah, or people that need an audience, like try to incorporate that, start to record yourself, or even like do a live stream and play, stuff like that.
Yeah, it's about the checks and balances, right? It's about you need a why. Like it's like with anything in life. Like Viktor Frankl has a great line that he says, "Any man that has a why can endure any how." And that's really what the creative process is you need to understand what it is you want to get out of it. Because, if you don't really know that why, then you're just playing for the fun of it, which is great. But like I'm not saying don't be a hobbyist and don't be just into harmonica because it's a fun instrument.
Yeah.
But if you do want to get better, and if you have the goal of getting better, you have to know what better means. Because this is another thing I find with a lot of students, my own and people that I've taught at workshops, and just people that I've met at spa, different people, is that a lot of people say they want to get better, but they don't actually know what their better is. They see Will Wilde, or they see like Sileo or you, and like all these incredible prolific players, but they don't really have a roadmap to get there, or they don't even know if they really want to get there, because that's their sound. That's not their own musical truth. It's not their own thing. So for me, I always have like, it's almost like a psychology test for a lot of my students, is like, I really need to get into the weeds of what is it you actually want to accomplish this week, this month, this year, because it's only by doing that I've found that you can really chart the progression of a player, because not everyone wants to be Little Walter, and not everyone wants to be William Clark. Sometimes they just want to play harmonica better.
Yeah. And do you feel like most of the players out there actually know what they would have to do to get there?
So that's the other thing, is that like many people will say, like we've all heard this 10,000 hour principle. It's been drilled into our head forever. That for those of you who don't know it, the 10,000 hour principle says it takes 10,000 hours to master something. It's pretty solid advice. But I've just found that everyone is so different. Like some people will spend 4 hours on a Saturday practicing, and then they just won't touch the harmonica for a week, and that works for them. But I've just found that like for the vast majority of my students and the vast majority of people that I've taught, a little bit every day tends to be the best policy. Even if and this is another thing I write about a lot of my articles, is that it's not just the act of playing harmonica, going back to what you were saying about getting distance from it. Even when you're not actively having the harmonica in your mouth, you could still be learning about harmonica. You could listen to harmonica music, you could be reading books on the craft, you could be doing research about like this is how the actual gears turn inside the harmonica, what's actually going on with the reeds and with the cover plates. It's ultra esoteric nerdism when it comes to harmonica. but in my experience, the players that have that goal in mind to be better do need those little esoteric practices to really kind of round out their progression.
Yeah, but then at the same time, gotta be careful nowadays, like hanging out on YouTube and checking out whatever video.
Yeah.
And now there's also stuff like the top 3 whatever harmonicas. Like, does that really benefit you in your playing? And then you could always be like, oh yeah, this is harmonica, so this helps. So I'm just gonna watch all these videos.
Yeah. And it's interesting because I think we talked about this on our first call. I know that you talked about it with Jared Goldweber when you did your live stream with him. Was we all kind of come from that same YouTube that YouTube school where it was like the greatest day of our lives when a new Jason Ritchie video would drop or a Ronnie Shellis video would drop.
Yeah, I mean it was just 3 people uploading, so.
Yeah, it was Jason, Adam, and Ronnie. And so I would say that we almost had an advantage back then because the content was more limited. So with limitation comes depth, of course. Like if you just have one Jason video to work on a week, that's a lot better than working on 6 different things at a time. So you're right, it is kind of a trap nowadays, is you can go down a lot of rabbit holes when it comes to harmonica and when it comes to music in general. So, going back to this idea of if you have a Sunday and you schedule out 4 or 5 practice sessions, depending on if you play diatonic and chromatic, because that's a whole other thing to discuss. But let's just say that you play diatonic for argument's sake. Have a goal for the week. Like, all of these practice sessions can get you to a goal by the time you get to Friday. Could be something as simple as I want to hit my 3-draw bends in tune. Or I want to blow bend, my, 10 down to 8 on the diatonic, whatever it is. But it has to be focused. And to Konstantin's point, having depth is a really valuable thing. But I'm also a huge believer in having a lot of input. It doesn't have to be harmonica specific input, but a lot of artistic input I think is a very good thing.
Yeah. How do you feel about, like, how can one get a good feel for what's actually beneficial and what's not? Like, other than just being told, oh yeah, check this out. And
well, I think that there's an element of experimentation. This is something that, because I've kind of gone on record a lot and talked about how I'm not a huge fan of talking about gear with people, because I think that gear is the ultimate rabbit hole to go down with harmonica, because there's hundreds of harmonica models, hundreds of amps, hundreds of microphones and elements, and all of the things. Remember, Jared told me one time it's like collecting like toy trains, and I really like that analogy. But there is a period of being a harmonica player where there's a lot of experimentation that has to happen. Like, you need to figure out, this is the harmonica that works for me. These are the players that I like. So, when you're young in the not biologically young, but when you're young in learning harmonica, the biggest thing that youth has going for it is vitality. So getting as much at the beginning as possible, I think, is really important, because it's it's like walking into a toy store. Everything's brand new and shiny, and you want to see everything. And it's okay to have that period of time. I will say though, as you get older and you start to, in the harmonica world, as you start to get older and you start to say like, okay, well, I know that this model works for me. Okay, I know that these are the 6 players that I'm gonna like really, really zone in and key in on. Then I think that's the opportunity to slow down and really go in depth. But at the beginning, eat up everything you can.
Yeah. There's Alexei in the chat asking you, are you planning on recording a solo harmonica record?
You know, I've been thinking about it recently. I did a do you know Tom Wallbank?
I'm not sure.
He's like a old like kind of like Sonny Terry kind of style harmonica player, but he did a album recently. It was to benefit the fires in Los Angeles. And I did 2 solo harmonica tracks on that. Both of them were I like dubbed over my chromatic with my diatonic and vice versa. So I have been thinking about. I've been in the studio more recently and working on different ideas, but. Yeah, I'd say it's definitely in the pipeline. I've got another book right now that I'm writing that I hope to have published in the next year and a half. So that right now is my focus. But after that, I would probably go more towards doing a solo harmonica record.
Yeah. Like, what are your thoughts on biologically young people finding out about the instrument, about the harmonica? Like, what's like the best way for us to kind of promote the instrument so there are more young players? Because like I feel like when I'm like scrolling whatever, you can see like guitar prodigies at super young and all that stuff. Where are they on harmonica?
Maybe we just haven't seen them yet, but
that could be true. Exactly. Yeah.
You know, well, I will say though about like the younger generation. It's funny. I was just writing an article about the younger generation that I'm going to put on my Substack in the next couple of weeks. But it's interesting because, you know, for my money, I don't know if you've seen. I'm sure that you've seen something similar. I've seen a lot of really incredible young players over the last couple of years. You know, I went to my first spa last year, which was an incredible experience, and I got to meet so many of these young kind of lions. And going to your question, the thing that I think that you need in order for the harmonica to survive, in order for the harmonica to move forward into this new digital age that we're in, one of the things that you can't be is dogmatic. And with harmonica, especially with blues harmonica, there is a tendency to be dogmatic. So you think this was the way it was done, and that was the way it was always meant to be done, which is kind of true. Because like when you think about Little Walter, you think about Junior Wells and all these really incredible canonical players that we revere and study, that has to be a part of the curriculum for the new generation. Because it's so integral to, especially the diatonic, to the identity of the instrument. It's like, you know, if you were learning electric guitar, like you would study Jimi Hendrix. If you're learning saxophone, you study John Coltrane. You know, trumpet, you know, Wynton Marsalis and Miles Davis. Like these are players that are not just key to the tradition of the music that they play in, but key to the instrument that they're played on. So I would say for the younger generation, having that appreciation and knowledge and time spent with the older styles of harmonica, in particular the Chicago guys and the pre-war guys, is very, very important. I see more and more a negligence of that as I've gotten older and I've seen the younger guys coming up. So I think that that's one part of it, is that there needs to always be that respect for the tradition. At the same time, there needs to be a outgrowth of originality in the harmonica. So whether that's from putting the harmonica in situations it's never been in before, if that's playing new styles of music that the harmonica has not traditionally been used in, I think that is the way forward. Is that it needs to be a combination of, okay, it does blues and folk and these styles really, really well, but it can also do this stuff. And as younger players come along and understand, like I was talking to Adam Gusso about this a long time ago. I was asking him about the younger generation, and yeah, I was doing this for an interview actually for the book, and I was asking about the younger generation, and the thing that I keep coming back to is this idea of overblowing as part of the vocabulary and not as just a last notch on the karate belt. It is now a part of that, the same way you learn blow bending, the same way you learn bending and all of those things. It is now a part of that curriculum. So as the younger players advance and get wiser and more digital and all these things, that is now a tool that can be used to go into all these new exciting realms. So I think that it's respect for your elders, and at the same time, I got to go out and be my own person.
All right, yeah. Oh yeah, Monique also writes, she prefers to practice a little every day rather than going a long time without practicing. Yeah, sometimes I even had like some days where I didn't practice and it was really good. Afterwards, like I think Federico is doing it now. In a few days in Canada, he's gonna play the Howard Levy concerto with an orchestra, like the full thing. I only ever played like the full first movement. But yeah, that was a concert with an orchestra where I played this first movement, and we had these rehearsals, and it was a New Year's Eve concert. So like we had the rehearsal, and then it was like New Year's Eve, and for New Year's Eve I was actually like going on a 2-day holiday to go skiing, and I didn't play like any harmonica. And then coming back, I never played it that good ever again. Sometimes it's gonna help. I don't know.
I mean, here I'll throw an analogy that I think you'll like. You run, right? Like I've seen your Instagram videos. You like to go for runs. There's no run better than the run you've had after a couple days rest. Because everything is fresh, like your legs are fresh here. And this is another thing about getting better at the harmonica is you have to, Thoreau, who's a great writer, said that you must live in each season as it passes. So what that means is that you're not always going to want to, even for weeks on end, you're not going to want to play harmonica. Like it's just going to happen eventually. Same thing with working out. Like your muscles get tired at a certain point. You just need to take some time off and go read a book or go to a bar and get drunk. Like you need to go do something else that isn't this thing that you've been doing. And one of the things that I have to remind my students of is like you need to kind of be aware of when you're burning out or when you need a break. One of the hardest things to do, like as a musician, not just a harmonica player, as a musician, is to realize like, okay, I really need to not play music right now. I need to go do something else. Because what you'll find is when you come back, you're full of ideas. Like you've had that moment of just like, okay, that was great. I was practicing a ton. I learned a ton. I'm sure I probably got better on my instrument, but now is the time to go do something else. Like I need some time. And then you'll come back and you'll be a better player. It's amazing how that works.
But what would be a sign then, playing music, for you to take a break?
I'll give you two. One would be if you sit down wherever this is my practice space. So if I sit down here and I just kind of have a stare down with my harmonicas for more than 10 seconds, then it's probably like, I don't really have to do this. But the second one, I think, which is the more revealing one, is like if you've run out of things that you're really excited about, I think that's a good metric. If you come to your practice space, or you go to your woodshed, wherever it is that you go to play, and you just kind of stare blankly at your harmonicas, and you're just like, I don't really know what I want to do today, or I don't like nothing's really doing it for me. That's a good indicator that you should go do something else. I've found that if that on those days when that happens, I have to go do something drastically different. So it could be like if I was really stuck in a rut playing like some big Walter Horton stuff, I would go listen to like EDM or go listen to like neo soul or something like completely the opposite end of the spectrum, because it almost like jumpstarts your brain, like because you're just in this. It's like you're in a fishbowl mentality when you're practicing all the time. Not to say it's a bad thing, but you do get to a point where it's just like, I need to go out into the ocean. I need to like spread my wings and like just get out of here for a little bit. But I would say those two is if you sit down and you're just like, I don't really want to do this, or the second one is I'm just not excited about anything.
Yeah. So what's your routine kind of like at the moment?
Harmonica wise, it's right now it's I probably practice like 4 times a week, give or take. Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, that kind of thing. On the weekends, sometimes I have gigs. But I usually practice for about 30 to 45 minutes a day. Usually Monday, Tuesday, a diatonic, and the rest of the week is chromatic. And then usually at my gigs, I'll play both, so it's a nice marriage of the two. But normally, for average practice session, I'll warm up, just kind of sit down, get in touch with my diaphragm, my breathing, just kind of open everything up. Sometimes I do some breathing exercises that tends to help a little bit, like some Wim Hof breathing or something like that, just to get everything moving.
Yeah.
Usually spend about, on a diatonic day, like, I don't know, 4 or 5 minutes, like just kind of chording. I got this from Philip Gers and his harmonica school, which is great. Which is just kind of doing like the really basic, like that kind of stuff, just to get the wind moving through the instrument, get the reeds warmed up. Usually spend about 5 to 10 minutes on intonation, which, by the way, you can always, I preach this to my students, is like it's really, really important to learn your intonation, because to me the difference between a beginner player and a beginner and intermediate player is someone who is not just doing their bends better, but is aware of where they're landing on the 3 draw. So I spend some time on my intonation. Then I usually will spend a little bit of time. Most of the time now it's a lot of work. So a lot of my students come to me with song studies or come to me with different things that we're breaking down together. So sometimes it's something like that. Sometimes it's more personal study. Sometimes it's arpeggiating chords. Sometimes it's, if I learn something that I really liked on chromatic, I'll try to put it to the diatonic and try to use more overblows and things like that, because I'm not the best overblower, but I'm getting better. And then usually like for like the last 10 minutes, I'll usually just end like jamming or like a song that I like, or any kind of recording stuff too. Is like the last 10 minutes is like the fun 10 minutes. It's like, you don't have to be like masochistic about it. Like you can just enjoy your practice time at the end of the time, but most of it should be stuff that you're not that you need to work on.
Yeah, the recording aspect is like pretty important, I guess. Like it's really good to just like listen back to yourself.
Yeah,
because like even while playing, like everything can feel really good, and you're like in a zone or whatever. But if you listen back, even like, especially after taking some time, a few minutes off afterwards, like you notice stuff that could be improved, whatever, you can feedback yourself way better.
I would say another thing, which is a pretty esoteric thing to mention, but I think that it warrants mentioning with diatonic. I would say another thing that I've been more keyed into recently is practicing on different key diatonics. Because what I've noticed is that many of my students will practice most of this stuff on an A and a C, which is, most of them are blues people, and those are predominantly used keys. But I think that it warrants, because each harmonica is very different, the tendency, the tone, the feel of each harmonica is very different. So I think that something I've incorporated more is practicing with each key. And then another thing that I've been trying to incorporate more is more practicing standing up. Something I got from Rob Paparozzi, because for years I just practiced sitting down, but it's like that classic thing about we practice how we're going to play. I think standing up is, or even just paying attention to your posture when you're playing, is a very important thing, because it's your vessel. It's where the air is coming from. Plus, when you're on stage, like, you don't want your kind of legs to go wobbly at a 2 or 3 hour gig. You're just used to sitting all the time.
Yeah. Yeah, I should do some more harmonica recording and feedbacking myself. It's really good. I do this. I try to record myself boxing a lot, and it's really good because you just see like how shit you actually are, even if it feels good. Like most of the time, you know, it's really helpful.
Yeah, for sure, and especially like in boxing, like especially those punches that you think are really, really good, but then like the video reveals otherwise. Left hook, perfect example, because like everyone is like, oh yeah, I'm coming all the way around, but most of the time it's like, but yeah, it makes a big difference. And you know, even if you do catch it on video, it does take a long time for your body and your mind to internalize that and actually and change it. And even when you do change it, you have to kind of do the hygienic practice of making sure that you don't fall back into a bad habit.
Yeah, Monique asks, you still get nervous going on stage with important musicians?
100%. I always say to people when it comes to nerves, is that nerves are a good sign that you care about whatever it is that you're doing.
Right, yeah.
The second that you don't feel nervous, you probably need a different gig.
Yeah, that should be scary to yourself if you don't feel anything.
Yeah, because then it's like you're like harmonica AI basically. Then you're just operating on autopilot. But it's also, you know, I've talked a lot over the years about nerves. I did a global blues harmonica summit with Ronnie Shellis last summer, which the whole focus of the class was just about nerves. And you know, a lot of people, I think a lot of people, especially who play harmonica, tend to get pretty nervous when they go on stage. And you know, it's interesting because the way that I try to explain to people how to overcome it is that it's kind of like prior planning prevents poor performance choices. And what I mean when I say that is that most of the time when you're nervous, it's an indicator that you're in an environment that you don't fully understand, or that is completely out of your control, which being on stage, that's pretty much what it is, because you can't control the other musicians that are around you. You can't control how they've prepared. You can only control how you have prepared for the moment. And the thing with nerves is that most of the time it's your irrational part of your brain. It's everyone. I try to tell everyone about this thing from, I think Freud talked about it and Plato talked about it, but it was the elephant and the rider, that your mind is basically divided into the rider, which is your rational thinking, and the elephant, which is your emotional side. So if you think about that visual, the elephant's very big, the rider's very small. Our emotional responses to things are usually a lot more visceral than our critical thinking. So your emotional response when you come on stage is, oh my God, I'm gonna totally mess this up. This is the worst day of my life. Oh my God, my hands are shaking. Why is my mouth doing that thing? Like, these are all normal human responses. If you didn't feel those things, that's a bad sign. So the advice I give to my students is, you know, fear in its most primal sense is an indicator. If you're an artist, if you're a musician, if you're a harmonica player, whatever it is, fear is an indicator of what you should be doing. If it's scary or if it's uncomfortable, you're probably in the right ballpark, or you're in the right gig. And you know, most of the time, it's really not going to be that bad. But like, what's the worst thing that could happen? The worst thing that could happen is that it's a learning experience. That's it. That's really the worst thing that could ever happen. You know, in my experience, you know, I played for Sting for 6 years. I made an unbelievable amount of mistakes. I made so many flubs, so many technical issues. Like, I had one performance where I almost like collapsed on the ground because I was so nervous. But all of those moments end up accumulating in a really, really calm player. Like, the calmest players that I see on stage nowadays are usually the ones who got their head cut at like their local jams for years, or they're the ones who have just embraced that mistakes are a vital part of being a harmonica player, and more specifically, being a better harmonica player.
Yeah. There's Marcos in the chat too. Yeah, what's up? What's up? Hey guys. There are more and more comments coming in. I can't even read this out now. I agreed, and 100% for me, it's basic to take breaks in everything in life. Marcus also started boxing 2 years ago.
We need Hohner, like Harmonica Fight Club.
It's crazy. There's Boaz. Hey Shane and Konstantin, always good to hear your thought process about teaching and practicing. Adam West, a large part of my practice routine is hitting the blues jam and multiple open mics. The open mics tend to offer unexpected musical situations. That's very true. That make me step out of a comfort zone and adapt.
Yeah, it's the ultimate. It's a good weekly check-in to see how your practice is going, but more specifically how you adapt to changes in an environment. Because at a blues jam, especially like a local, just regular blues jam, you're at the mercy of the sound. You're at the mercy of the players. You're at the mercy of who calls the song. Like assuming that you're not singing. There's just so many variables, which again, very positive experience. In the moment, it probably doesn't feel very good. But in the long run, it's very beneficial. If you want to know a really good, I'll tell you a really good blues jam story. Actually, this is probably this was the story that changed me a lot as a harmonica player. So I'd been playing for about a year. I didn't have a full set of harmonicas. I go to my weekly blues jam, and I'm like 16 at the time. I don't know, like just like upstart, cocky kid, like just kind of like striding in. And I go on stage, so I have 3 harmonicas with me. I have an A harmonica, a B harmonica, and a C harmonica. Because in my thinking brain as a 16-year-old, I'm like, oh, A, B, C, perfect. I'm cooking. So keep in mind, I was a drummer prior to being a harmonica player, so I didn't know anything about harmony or chords or any of that. So I get up and the band calls a slow blues in the key of F. And me, doing the harmonica math in my head, I'm like, okay, so what does that mean? What does that mean? Oh, F blues means a B harmonica, so that would put me in second position. For those of you who don't know, that is not the right key harmonica to play for that for that song. And it just sounded terrible, like really, really terrible, because I was playing in a completely different wrong key. Came off stage, the guitar player, who also played a little bit of harmonica, was kind of very angry at me, or as angry as like a 40-something-year-old man can be at a 16-year-old kid, and was like, "What harmonica were you playing on that last song, kid?" I was like, "Oh, it was a B harmonica." And he's like, you know, we were playing an F. You should have a B flat harmonica, you dummy. And I was like, oh. So then next day I got a B flat harmonica, and then I could play all the little Walter stuff, and then it clicked. But again, like that moment of having like basically my ass chewed out by this guy ended up being like a really, really beneficial thing. I was like, oh wait, I need all the key harmonicas to be able to play all this stuff that I want to play. I need a B flat in order to play all the little Walter stuff. So it's like momentary pain for long-term gain.
Yeah. Monique says, the problem is when the nerves make me mess up. Haha, even things I already know. Yeah, I would say that messing up is a good place to start. You know, people thought when they hit the first bent note on a harmonica that they were messing up too. So I would take every mistake that you make in stride. I would learn from it, and I would also, like, there's a bit of a radical acceptance that has to happen with harmonica playing too. Is you need to just believe that every step that you take in your harmonica journey, no matter if it's you know, the worst gig of your life or like this unbelievable shining moment in the sun, that they're all just a part of becoming. That's really what playing harmonica is. It's learning to kind of roll with the punches. Yeah. Yeah. Talking about nerves, I don't know. The very first time stepping on stage, that was like the scariest for me. That was it. Like I never was that nervous anymore afterwards.
How old were you?
I guess 14.
Yeah.
That
And
was
what-
just
what-
like in front of 500 people. I was just playing one song. That was like the first time stepping on stage in front of 500 people. That's a lot for the first time, but it was just like a school kind of event, anniversary, whatever. And I played like one song on harmonica, simple melody, C harmonica, and then I pitched up the backing track for this last chorus up a half step, so I switched to the D flat harmonica. Kind of corny. Yeah.
No, that's super cool. Boy, at 14, that's so much cooler, man.
I think that was You Raise Me Up.
Oh, yeah.
The video is still on YouTube.
Oh, I gotta see that. Yeah, I mean, that's the other thing is like, you know, because you did it for the first time when you were 14, like that's a really good age to start introducing being on stage. Because like it's like with anything we do in life, the younger that you introduce a stimulus, the easier it gets as you get older. I know that a lot of people don't come to the harmonica as early as you and I did, or to any creative pursuit that involves an audience. But I think that the more times you proverbially get in the ring, or like actually like, you know, you learn what it is to be on stage, I think the easier it becomes. And the more mistakes kind of, or like nerves, like all of that stuff just kind of becomes part of the deal. Like it's part of the package.
Yeah. Yeah, and another thing, talking about nerves, I think I would never get in the ring as long as I play harmonica. Not a good idea, you know?
Yeah.
But,
Yeah, probably.
But my coach
probably
was
not
like,
best.
you should actually fight. Like they have these events at their gym and you can just like fight internally within the gym or like local people.
Yeah.
And he was like, actually, you would have a big advantage because you're used to play in front of people because you got an audience, you know? And so many of the fighters never experienced that in their lives.
Yep.
They might be the best at their gym, whatever, but then stepping into the ring with the audience, it's like over. They can't really do what they do while training, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, you know Floyd Mayweather?
Yeah.
So he would talk a lot. He would say to his opponents, like in the kind of pre-fight, like build up to Marcus Maidana or whoever these guys that he was fighting, he would say, you know, it's one thing to fight so-and-so, it's a completely different thing to fight me. And he didn't mean that as a, you know, I'm, you know, a great boxer. He meant that as like the pressure of fighting him was different.
Yeah.
In terms of the audience that was watching him, because Floyd knew that someone coming into the ring with him was having to deal with all the buildup that happens with a fight like that, with a fight of that magnitude, because it's him. So, yeah, but in boxing especially, like, you know, we always like train our cardiovascular system and we do things to mitigate that, like getting tired in a fight. Nothing can prepare you for fighting in front of people. Nothing. And it's the same thing. Like nothing can prepare you for playing in front of people except the actual act of doing it.
Yeah.
How do you prepare for a fight? You spar a lot, and you get used to that stimulus. But then when you actually get in the ring and there's people watching you, it's like it's completely different.
Yeah. Monique, okay, that thing you said about the band, I'm going to remember it for the rest of my life now. Haha, nice. Adam, my first time, my stepmom signed me up and did not tell me, 18 years old. She literally pushed me up there.
That's a good motivator. That's a very good motivator. Yeah, I mean, but I mean, again, like it's not just harmonica. Like you know, if we talk about nerves and all this stuff, it's public speaking at the end of the day. It's being comfortable in front of an audience. Like the harmonica just also happens to be there, and you happen to be using a different set of skills. But I felt the same nerves sparring as I did playing harmonica. I used to do musical theater when I was younger, and it was all the same. It's the same feeling. It's the same biological thing that's happening in your body. But the same response maintains is that you recognize exactly how you're feeling, and then you just kind of go. Like you do what it is you do. And regardless of the outcome, like you can't be too attached to the outcome, because then like you're almost playing music, or you're doing all these things for the wrong reason. You're doing it for the experience of being there. The way that I always like to think about it is like a song. Like if you're playing it on stage, a song really lasts like 3.5 minutes. The applause really only lasts for like 10 seconds. Like you're really there for the song. You're there for the journey. You're there for the feeling of being on stage, because it's a human. It's like this culmination of like I've practiced, I've done all these things, and like now this is the reward. This is the actual being here is the reward, and everything else is just like you get an applause for 10 seconds and then you move on to the next song. Like that's really what it is.
Yeah. I also remember receiving this prize for classical music, and then I actually wasn't nervous about playing on stage while it was being televised and stuff. I was actually nervous about giving this speech afterwards. That was the thing I was nervous about. Not about the playing part at all.
Yeah, because your comfortability was with playing. It wasn't with talking. Yeah. That's always a strange. It's always a strange marriage of things. Like when I was touring with Sting, like we had this. Him and I did this kind of like little banter back and forth right before I would play Brand New Day. I always got more nervous for that. And then those nerves just kind of got on, because I was like actually having to talk in front of all these people. And then it was just stacked on top of the, okay, now play Brand New Day, this Stevie Wonder part. And I was like, oh, yeah, I got it.
Right. There's Branko asking, what's the greatest advice you've gotten from an artist who you have performed with that you teach your students?
I mean, there's a lot. I had this gig. I call it the worst gig of my life, because it was just mentally, emotionally, physically. I was just in a really bad spot. It's about 2 months into playing for Sting on our first summer tour. We were in Stockholm, and we were playing this amusement park in Stockholm. I forget what it's called, but it was big outdoor gig, and it was really hot. I think that I flubbed or messed up every song in some like irreversibly bad way, to the point that I was getting like looks from the band, which we all make mistakes when we're on stage. And I remember just going back to the dressing room and like punching the couch, and I was so depressed. I was so down on myself. I was like, I'm gonna lose this gig. Like it's I'm toast. Like that was it. So we're in the car ride back to the hotel, and I get out of the car, and Sting's there, and he like puts his arm around me, and like we're talking a little bit, and he's a very nurturing guy. He's there's been a lot that's been said about him over the years, but he really at his core is an incredible human being. And he basically just said to me like, you think too much, basically. And I thought about it, and then he told me this piece of advice that I always remember. There was a piece of advice that he got from Kenny Kirkland, who was his piano player, who passed away like 15 years ago. Incredible jazz piano player. And what Kenny said to him was, there are no wrong notes except the note that you follow with. And what that means is that you can make any situation, any musical expression, anything work, and all that it requires is a response from you as a human being. So, I went back to my room after that. I didn't go to the bar. I just thought a lot about what that meant. And what it meant was that I had a choice. I had a choice of how I responded to having a bad gig. I had a choice of how I responded to these feelings of inadequacy and imposter syndrome and all these things that like I felt being a harmonica player playing in that band. And the next gig that I played was like one of the best gigs of my life because I was operating on a everything is permissible kind of thing. Like I can do what I want because there are no wrong notes. Like there's just a choice of how I present myself. There's a choice of how I prepare. So I think that was a very eye-opening moment for me. I was kind of a bit anal prior to that gig. Everything had to be perfect. Everything had to be like this, like kind of OCD a little bit, and that changed me because I was able to approach the gig with more fun and with a sense of play. Like that's the thing with music is that like if it's all serious all the time, it's going to dry up pretty quickly. You need to find the fun in it. You need to find the play aspect of it. The most important thing a musician can be is excited. The most important thing a harmonica player can be is excited. The most important thing that you bring to your music is this sense of wonder. It's not a sense of dread. And yeah, I would say that moment with him really, it sticks out in my mind as like a pivotal turning point in my musical life.
Yeah. Oh, Marcus says, hitting the sack is like practicing at home. You got a lot of air, and getting in the ring for sparring is like playing on stage. Suddenly you feel you got half of the air. Ha ha ha.
Yep. Yeah, anyone will tell you that like there's a very big difference between sparring and fighting. Very big. There's probably about like 50% of your oxygen difference. Yeah. And it's also like the biggest thing that everyone forgets about fighting is that breathing is one thing when you're just hitting the bag, you're hitting pads or something like that. It's very different to breathe when you have a mouthpiece in. Very different. Because, I think a lot of people also with boxing, like you're breathing in through your mouth, which is it's not terrible, but it's not the best way to do it. And when you spar, you really learn how to do that better. So that helps you in the fight more.
So all of this is about breathing.
At the end of the day, it's all about breathing.
Yeah, kind of. Oh yeah, Monique says, guys, I have to go now. Have a nice stream. Nice to meet you, Shane.
Hi, Monique.
Thank you for tuning in. Yeah. How about breathing while running a marathon? You just recently did that.
Second one, yeah. Yeah, I don't recommend doing that. I recommend running a marathon. I think that's great. But I don't recommend the way that I just did it, which was that I didn't run for 2 months prior to the race. I had like a really bad Achilles injury, and then I was gone. I was in India for 2 weeks prior to the race, and I came back on a Sunday night, and the race was on a Saturday night. The race was on a Monday morning. So my hip flexors were all jacked up. I was like jet lagged. I was dehydrated. But running a marathon is one of those things that most of it is mental. Like the physical part of it is your body is going to break down at a certain point. It's not if, it's when. And you just really need to be able to push through in your mind. You and I talk about Wim Hof I remember the last time we talked about his breathing method.
Yeah, I remember my pianist always does this before concerts, and I never really got into it. But at some point this winter, I did it one single time because I thought maybe I get a little cold tomorrow. I should do this. I should try this. I felt like it really helped, and I didn't get sick.
It really does help, and especially if you do it like in the morning before you've had coffee or before you've checked your phone or all the things that we do in the morning. Before you do that, do the breathing exercise. It only takes like 10 minutes, and there's tons of free videos on YouTube to do it.
Yeah.
But it really does it. The term is alkalizing your body. It really does help a lot. Because that's a very important thing to do for your body in the morning, is to just get more oxygen into it.
Yeah. I don't think I am ever going to run a marathon.
Good. Don't. It's
I'm like, what would be a reason to? I just like I don't know why I should.
What I would say is that I wouldn't have normally signed up to do a marathon. The first one, so I've done two. Both of them were in my hometown in Boston, and the Boston Marathon is revered for being, one of the oldest and most respected marathons in the world. So I grew up across the street from like where the finish line is, so it was just always something I had in my mind. But I was running to raise money. I was Mass General Hospital is one of the best hospitals in the country, which is also right down the street from me. And I raised money for pediatric cancer research. And I was running in honor of my uncle who passed away. So unless you have all of that going for you, I don't recommend running a marathon just to run a marathon. Because again, like most of the benefit of running, like if you're running just for the health benefit of it, you only really need like 6 miles during the week. And you're getting most of the value out of it. It's like with lifting weights, like, there's people who go to the gym like 6 days a week to lift weights. But if you only lifted like 2 days a week, you're still getting 80% of the return. Because you're giving your body time to rest, and you're like, you can lift really heavy. It's the same thing with running, but like you don't really need that much volume to get the benefit.
Is that what people call the 80-20 rule, kind of? Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because so much in the modern world is about posturing as, grinding and doing all this like hard work, and there's merit to that for sure. David Goggins and Jocko Willink and all these like online personalities of like self-improvement bros, basically. But you could get the same amount of gains, the same amount of whatever for your body on just like 3 or 4 workouts a week, including running, including strength training. If you want to box, that's fine. So you don't need like 12 workouts a week. This is something that I often have to correct people on, is that like they're like, oh, like, I work out like twice a day, like every day. I was like, that sounds terrible. But don't recommend running a marathon. I still believe the best length race is the 10K. I think that I think a 10K race is a perfect thing to train for. It's something you can go really fast on. It's just long enough to feel like a really like long race. And there's tons of incredible 10Ks all over the world.
So how can one apply the 80-20 rule to the harmonica?
I think that the way that I think about the 80-20 rule with harmonica is about influence. I actually wrote an article about this not too long ago, and I wrote one today about incorporating influences into your playing. I think that your quote-unquote diet as a harmonica player has to be a lot of really good harmonica music at the beginning. It has to be people that you want to emulate. You and I have talked about this before, that like there's a lot to be said for listening to other styles of music, other instrumentalists, but if you are a harmonica player, you do have to spend some time listening to other harmonica players. For me, when I was learning, my like 4 guys that I listened to more than anyone: Stevie Wonder, Paul DeLay, William Clark, and Big Walter Horton. That was when I first started playing. Those are the guys that I really liked. And to this day, I still kind of go back to those guys quite frequently. So 80% of your time that's spent when you're first learning harmonica is going to be spent ingesting. You have to ingest all of this harmonica content, music content, learn about, different chord progressions, learn about like what a 1-4-5 actually is. And the other 20%, this is something that a lot of people don't talk about, especially in music. Victor Wooten talks about it a little bit. But the other 20% is your life. It's your life experience. It's the things that you like outside of just playing harmonica and just nerding out about Little Walter stuff. Like it's the things that comprise your life. The movies you watch, the books you read, the people you hang out with, your culture, where you come from, what you're interested in. Maybe you like your other hobbies like boxing, or like all of those things factor into your music in a very visceral way. We just don't really think about it like that, because we think, oh, I'm going to listen to X harmonica player and this is going to translate into my style. That's not how it works. Your style is a result of everything else that you like outside of who you listen to. So 80% of it is the due diligence of being a harmonica player, and the other 20% is living your life in a way that it's creatively satisfying and fruitful. That's how I apply it. And that 20% ends up mattering a lot more than just the kind of the checks and balances of being a harmonica player. That's all just like extra stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know if that's true, but like somewhere I read, like if you just do like 15 minutes of an activity every day, you're gonna be better than whatever percent of all the people out there, you know? Like,
yeah, it's true. I saw that video too. That's exactly what it is that it doesn't really require, in terms of like, everyone thinks like they don't have time. We don't have time to do this. We don't have time to do that. We don't have time to train for a marathon. We don't have time to do these things. But you do. The trick is you need to, going back to my original point when we first started, was you need to find the time. It doesn't, like if you wake up on a Monday and your Monday doesn't like have a flow to it, you're not going to find the time. You're going to find yourself on your phone for 4 hours. You're going to find yourself distracted by different things. But if it's written down and scheduled, then you're more likely to do it. And this could be applied to anything. It doesn't have to just apply to harmonica. It is a scheduling issue. For the goals that people want to accomplish, almost all of it comes down to execution. Most of life is about execution. If you're not executing, if you're not scheduling, most of the time you're not succeeding.
I should, maybe there's a way of getting it on the Hohner Live, but I was like super surprised looking this up because there was he also talked about this principle, and he played many instruments. Eric Weinstein, he was like on Joe Rogan, and they talked about harmonica.
Yep.
I just looked up some videos on YouTube talking about harmonica, you know.
That's the next step. Is we need a harmonica player on Joe Rogan.
That would be crazy for the instrument, actually.
Be sick. Yeah. No, it really is, man.
And he also he plays harmonica, he plays guitar, and so many other things. And he was just like talking about this exact thing that he applies to everything, kind of.
Yeah. It all comes down to just time management. Like there's a great quote by Seneca, who was a Stoic philosopher, who said, "It's not that we have so little time; it's that we waste so much of it." The average person spends 4 or 5 hours on their phone a day. That's including people who are younger, like kind of whatever this next generation is called, and older people too spend so much time on their devices. Not to say that all that content is bad or that like being on your phone can't be beneficial, but it does, like, just in terms of the hours, like there's a great idea that your time is your most valuable asset. That's why everyone wants to steal it from you. We live in an age where it is the attention age. Attention is the greatest currency. So this is why scheduling, especially when it comes to harmonica, becomes so important. Is because it's so easy to just let that time poof.
Yeah.
Like it's just gone, and then you wake up and it's 10 years later and you haven't gotten any better. It's because you didn't make the time for it. Like so many harmonica players, and I'm sure that you've found this too, so many harmonica players will say, I've been playing for 25 years or 30 years. It's like, okay, cool. And then you hear them play and it's like they've been playing for like 25 seconds. But the difference is that it's not about the years, it's about the hours, or in my perspective, the half hours, the like little incremental chunks that add up over time. It's really easy to say that you've done something for 25 years. I've had a saxophone sitting in my closet for the last 2 years. I think I've touched it maybe twice, but I can't call myself a saxophone player.
So we talked about like putting the harmonica in like new musical styles where it hasn't been played before. But what else? Like, what can the harmonica do? This small invisible instrument to attract more attention, as other instruments do. I feel like out there in the online world, like as soon as you got a guitar on screen or drums, it's like there's like a different physical and visual aspect that draws more attention, kind of.
You're saying that a guitar or a piano draws more attention than a harmonica. Yeah, I mean, I think that we're getting better about it. I think that the harmonica is still young, and it's young in terms of like the digital age. Like I've seen, we talked about Jared Goldweber before. Like I've seen him and his TikToks, and Gregory Hohner and these guys who have like really been tackling the social media mountain, and it's a slow climb. There was a long time where like people who were reading books, like it didn't have anything to do with online culture.
Yeah.
But it's had this huge spike in interest over the last several years, like basically since COVID. So you just never know what's going to hit at what time. And as harmonica players, our only job, really any instrumentalist or any artist, our only job is to provide, content. That's our only job. Like we can't control how the great online tidal wave is going to accept us or whether they do or don't. But there are things we can do to encourage interest. I think Jared's doing a great job, like doing all this like kind of heavy metal covers and playing bass harmonica, like all that stuff. Like I've had people send me DMs asking me if I know Jared.
Yeah.
Which is awesome. Like that's like
that's a good sign. It's like I got this guy. Did you hear? Yeah, of course I know him.
but that's how it starts. Like and we'll never know. Probably not in our lifetime. Like it will never be like this kind of held up like thing, like to the degree that some of these instruments like a saxophone or a violin or a guitar or any of those things are. But again, that's not for us. All we can do is put out good music for people to listen to. We can, spread the word. We can put the harmonica in different positions than it has been. You're doing a great job of it. Jared's doing a great job of it. A lot of these younger guys that I've seen, like Kyron Allen, and these different styles are really starting to kind of come alive. And you and I, as these kind of, we're not like young, but we're kind of like we're adolescent, I guess, in our harmonica-ness. Our only job is to push them in the direction that they should go, and that direction is one of, as I said before, respect to a tradition of blues harmonica and all of the older pre-war style stuff, and all of the stuff that came after that, like William Clark and DeLay and Carlos Del Junco and all those people, and then push them forward. Like you have all the tools here, and then you have to go forward and proverbially like Oedipus Rex, like you have to kind of kill your father a little bit. Like you need to go forward into the world.
Yeah. Nice.
But I will say just one more thing about that is I think another thing that's really beautiful and fascinating about the new world of harmonica is how much, this could be a pro and a con, but how much content is out there in terms of like Patreon and Philippe's page and your page and Jason's page and all this stuff. I think that is also a good, that's pushing the younger generation in the right direction. Because, YouTube is oversaturated and there's a lot of stuff on YouTube now. But I think that the content that you guys are putting out now is really pushing these younger players in a really fruitful direction.
Oh yeah, thinking about Philip's Patreon and Joel Anderson, like also setting up harmonicas, like just so people know about this.
Yeah.
It's gonna help tremendously, yeah.
I think also another interesting thing that, because we haven't really talked about gear yet, there's all kinds of weird, interesting things that are happening with manufacturing too. Like, Hohner put out the Penta Harp however many years ago, and then you have this, I do not know how to pronounce this, Trochilus?
The trockless, whatever.
Trockless. Yeah, like while it might not be everyone's cup of tea, it is a new, innovative way to play, and I think that it's, I think all lights are green in terms of the future of the harmonica.
Yeah. I even had to get a trockless because one of my students, I don't know. I'm not a bad teacher, I guess, but he never really learned to band. So like, that's his way of like producing these notes now, and I had to get it so I could show him stuff,
Yeah.
and think his way during these lessons. Yeah.
Do you like it?
I don't know. It doesn't feel completely right to me.
Yeah, me too.
But I just imagine like younger players starting out with it. Then I mean, yeah, that could have incredible results,
Yeah, I think it's interesting because I think it's a great tool, but like I would never use it as my primary axe, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like for example,
I actually had to play it on stage one single time.
Oh really?
I guess I'm not allowed to play to tell because I'm only allowed to play Hohner on stage, which I love to. But there was like a special situation. Like I was playing this concert with this orchestra, and it was just like a simple melody, something like Moon River, I guess. And I played it in 12th position. I don't know. And during the rehearsals, I just played my regular diatonic, but the orchestra like just like tuned so high. It was just too low sounding. Like even while after playing it at the rehearsal, like some of the violinists were like, that was pretty low the way you played it. And I was like, I know. Like, I gotta do something about this. And I just had this trockless that was kind of higher pitched, and then I could, and also which is tuned to equal temperament instead of my diatonics, which are tuned to a compromised tuning. So especially, it was like 7 draw, first position. It was just like way too low. So yeah, but that felt like super uncomfortable being with the trockless on stage. Like that was me, like also for a moment, like getting nervous because like for one second in one little moment I didn't like push the slide correctly or whatever, and then like this weird bendy sound came out of the instrument, and I was like,
yeah, because I'm sure because of the way that you hold it, like you could very accidentally touch it.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I haven't played it on stage yet. I don't plan on playing it on stage for a while.
Right, and then also what feels kind of weird if you're used to like diatonic and chromatic. I mean, it's either banding and overbanding or pushing the slide, but like combining the two kind of in a way that, oh yeah, I'm playing this note in the middle octave by pushing the slide, but then I gotta play this note in the lower octave bending. That's like very interesting to get used to.
Yeah, I think that was the thing that I could never really come to terms with.
Yeah.
I liked using it. I mean, I really only liked using it for like getting the expression on what would have been the 6 overblow. Like, that was the only. But I could have used like a wild tune harp or something like that to get that same ornamentation. But yeah, it's a very. I played it for a video clip that I did for Modern Blues Harmonica, and like that was the only really thing that I really liked about it. Everything else was like it's also the round holes, like because I'm I play predominantly golden melody, so getting used to the round holes was tough. I didn't really like how that played. But maybe a little bit more time and effort, but I'd rather just play chromatic.
Yeah. But I'm sure like this whole concept will also evolve and will be put into like different sandwich style harmonicas,
Yeah.
So
maybe... It will be interesting to see how the next generation does. The other thing I'm interested in is like all of these MIDI harmonicas.
Okay.
Like I've seen, Brendan Power did a couple things with it, and Philippe did some things with it. I'm sure that I'm forgetting other people that I've seen play it, but that's interesting to me. I mean, it's not, again, not necessarily my cup of tea, but it's cool to see that, like that there's thought forward as opposed to backwards.
Right, yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I never tried it. I'm not sure what I would do with it either. Like, to me, it doesn't make too much sense, like, playing it and, like, putting whatever, like, a trombone sound on it. Like, for me, it would be like, yeah, I'm interested to put, like, let's say, weird vocal samples that I sampled myself on it, or stuff like that, I don't want to imitate another instrument playing harmonica. Yeah.
Yeah, that the way that I was thinking about it was like lower registers on the harmonica. So like people who don't play bass harmonica or even chord harmonica, like you could figure that out on the MIDI. I guess it only really works in a studio setting. I guess that was more what I was thinking. But yeah, well, I mean, I remember seeing the clip of Philippe playing it, and it was just like a trombone sound or a trumpet sound. And of course it's him, so it sounds incredible no matter like what instrument he's sampling from. But it definitely like intrigued me. I mean, his playing always intrigues me, but it was weird. It's like seeing a dog walk on its hind legs.
Yeah. Nice. I mean, we talked about so much stuff already.
Yeah.
And I think there was some interesting stuff for both, like, beginner players and advanced players too.
What's your biggest kind of like players who are? I asked this question of a lot of harmonic players that I respect. When players want to go, diatonic players want to go from being intermediate to advanced, what do you think is the biggest barrier to jump over to get to an advanced level? Like what's kind of when you think of like the difference between intermediate and advanced player, what do you think the difference is?
Yeah, I mean, that's the first question, right? I mean, if you go to Howard Levy's harmonica school, it's being able to play overblows, then you're an advanced player.
Yeah.
In the end, it doesn't say anything. So, I'm not sure. For me, I'm not sure how tied it is to, like, musical styles. Because for me, it was always just about getting better on the instrument. Because transitioning or like making this move from blues into jazz, it was never about the music itself. It was just what I saw online. And for me, it was like, oh yeah, I want to get better on the instrument. I'm tired of blues. What are more advanced players doing? Okay, they are playing jazz or whatever, more melodic styles. So that's what I had to do. That's what I guessed at that point. So that's why I started listening to Charlie Parker before going to school and stuff. It wasn't like, oh yeah, I love jazz and I love listening to this. It was just, shit, I gotta get better on the instrument, so now I have to listen to this. Kind of.
Yeah, it was your musical broccoli.
Yeah. But that doesn't really answer the question, right?
I mean, it's interesting because, I would ask this question to someone who is predominantly a blues player. And I remember that I asked Joe Falisco this question a long time ago. Basically, like, what's the difference between an intermediate player and an advanced player? And his basic and his Joe sage wisdom was repertoire. That, like, usually the more advanced you get, the more well-rounded you are as a harmonica player, usually the more that you can play, whether that means songs or styles or positions or whatever it is. Like, for me, I think that I agree with you, the overblow thing is certainly an advanced technique, but I think that I've had a lot of people who have approached me over the last year at different, like I taught at Todd Parrott's Harp Fest this last October, I taught at a couple other workshops, and I had a lot of people coming up to me, I don't know why, to ask about overblowing. And these are players that have been playing for like 2 years. And so I would say that overblowing is definitely an advanced technique, but the more advanced technique is overblowing correctly and overblowing in tune. Because a lot of these guys that I heard overblowing were, they were flat or they were a little bit sharp, like whatever it is. And I think that intermediate to advanced, that doesn't just apply to overblowing. I think it applies to draw bending and blow bending too. Like how good is your intonation really? You listen to someone like Carlos Del Junco, to me that is like black belt intonation. Or even listening to you or listening to Philippe, like that's what I consider to be advanced dash professional level technique. And I really think that like the big differentiating thing between an intermediate and an advanced is how aware they are of their technique. And also like how aware
that's
they
really
are,
good. Yeah.
And just how in command of the instrument they are. Like, how many times have we just heard, regular harmonica players playing mindlessly the like all the descending blues licks, because they're not really playing them. It's just it's a reaction. It's a bodily reaction that's going on. It's not a musical expression. So I think that's the big difference, is like people who are advanced versus intermediate have full command of the techniques that are at their disposal, both lip pursed and tongue blocked. They have full command.
Yeah, but like actually, like no matter how big or small the skills are, I feel like, you could have an advanced player who's just playing natural single notes on the instrument.
Yeah. It's something I think about a lot. And when I was writing the book, that was something else I was thinking about, is like what really differentiates the intermediate from the advanced. Because I think a lot of people think that they're intermediate players, but they're really beginners. And I think that a lot of advanced players think that they're intermediate. It's interesting how that works. It's like usually the better you are, the more you think that you have a lot more to learn.
That's true. Yeah, also always weird with these levels during these Twitch harmonica challenges, because like, of course, we want to give beginners the chance to win. So if they're like half professional players uploading stuff, so created these 3 sections. But then, I mean, it was like, oh yeah, everybody just decides for themselves at which level they want to compete, kind of.
Yeah, it's an ultimate like, death of the ego kind of moment. Like you just have to be really honest with yourself, otherwise you're going to get torched by players that are much better than you.
Yeah. Yeah, and then like, I mean, I remember there have been a few players that just like were, oh yeah, I'm an advanced player, and then they never really had the chance to win, and I just had to be honest, like just upload to the intermediate category, and then you're gonna get a prize at some point.
Yeah, you're playing the system.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. What was I going to ask you? World Harmonica Festival. I think I'm going to see you there.
That's sick.
Yeah, I'm going to buy the ticket in the next couple days. But yeah, I've never been. I've always wanted to, even just to go hang out and grab a beer, like that kind of thing.
Yeah. There are so many people coming this year. It's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, I have a couple buddies that are going. My great friend Hank Schreed, I think you had him on here. He's going to be there. I'm excited to see him and hang with him. Such a good dude.
Yeah, Hank's going to be there. Monique is going to be there. Last week I talked to Melissa Blanco from Argentina. She's going to be there. Like, so many different players from all over the world coming to Hohner town. I mean, that's the time of the year where something's happening in Trossingen. So
yeah, it seems like I went to Spa last year and that was great and eye-opening, but I think that this is like the next step in terms of getting to know more people in the community.
How do you feel about the this harmonica competition thing, though.
What harmonica competition thing?
Like at the World Harmonica Festival, they got the competition going on. Like,
I mean, I think that those kind of things are so subjective. But like, it's not. Just in general, I just think it's very subjective. So I think it's great to discover new players. I think that it's great to give players something to work towards, even if it's something as
it can be
momentary.
that's like another thing, like, right? That can be a motivator for some people working towards something like this. They need this competition. So
Yeah, for sure, and that's that's a great that's a great motivator to get in the woodshed. Like if that's your why, that's great.
right, yeah. I'm sure you also
but-
had some students who were like, "Oh yeah, can you prepare me for this and that?"
Yeah, I've had a couple students like that. I've had students that the majority of my students have come to me more so. I don't know if this is your experience too, with either songs that they want to learn, meaning like stylistic things from people like DeFore Bailey, Little Walter, like that kind of style, or Stevie Wonder. I get a lot of Stevie Wonder style people that try to want to emulate his sound, which is great. So it's either song studies or it's people who just want to learn very specific techniques. I've had a couple students that have wanted to like go on to do competitions and like the International Blues Challenge, and people who want to go somewhere with the instrument. That's really invigorating for me as a teacher, because you see people with that drive and that passion, and that they're going to really work. But the majority of my students are really just want to they want to learn this little Walterism, or this little how to do a tongue flutter, or how to do blow bending, like Jimmy Reed kind of stuff, which is, again, like, it's all wants are valid.
Yeah. Nice. Yeah, it's gonna be an amazing event.
Yeah, I'm very excited. I haven't been to Germany in a while, so I'm excited to go back.
Yeah, and I think I almost didn't play at the festival, but then they did this double bill concert. I'm not sure if I'm gonna play first or CY Leo, but same bill as him. I better practice before stepping on stage.
You guys should do something together.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure we're gonna do that. Yeah.
You guys did I remember seeing like a clip. You guys did Superstition together. That was really cool.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, man. He
Superstition
rocks
that
my-
went up a half step. Like, so what? Yeah.
He rocks my world, man. He like, in terms of chromatic players, like, obviously Antonio is in a league of his own, but there's something about Sai's playing that's just buttery. But like, it's so smooth. Just the way that he plays, the way he goes up and down, everything about him is just so smooth. So be nice to meet him.
Yeah. Yeah, they got some blues gala concerts. The Asian players playing the first gala concert evening. And then they had this idea, I'm going to host that evening. So, yeah. That's where nerves could get into play, talking on stage.
It's good, man. It's all... See, that's a good example of, like, you're in a place where everyone's just there because they love the harmonica. So...
Yeah.
So the thing that I always tell people is when they get on stage is that everyone wants you to succeed. Like, the audience wants you to have a good show. They don't want to see you mess up. Like,
That's true.
They're not like waiting with bated breath to be like, ha 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 ha. In our mind, we think that because, like, we went to high school and we had the dream of, like, our pants come down and there's poop in them, that kind of thing. But that's not how life is. Like, people want to see you succeed. Maybe I'm an idealist and that's how I think about the world, but I do think that in moments like that, especially somewhere like the World Harmonica Festival where everyone's so passionate about harmonica, they just want you to do a good job.
Yeah.
And if you don't, they'll still think of you as you.
Yeah, and they might know what went wrong with the instrument or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. So if you do mess up, there's people who can tell you how to not have that happen again.
Because there was me handling nerves, like being a teenager, whatever, playing in front of like friends and my parents' friends or whatever. I was just like not starting out to play, rather just like telling them what's about to happen, you know? It was just like me, oh yeah, and then in bar 10, I'm gonna play an overblow, which is like kind of hard to do, you know? I'm gonna try my best.
Just so you know, just so we're all on the same page.
Yeah, exactly.
I will say, man, the one thing that I'm very nervous about, I'm sure that's going to be great, but I'm playing at Spa this year. I guested on Hank's set last year at Spa, but this year I'm playing in the Saturday night concert, the one that Antonio played last year, so that will be intimidating.
Oh yeah.
But again, it's just like it's a moment of, you know, joy. Like that's always what it should be.
Nice. Yeah, looking forward. World Harmonica Festival. Do some playing there. Get some workouts in.
Oh yeah. We should definitely do like a group run. That would be fun.
Yeah. Harmonica players are quite fit. I feel like most of them.
Yeah, I think that there's more of an awareness nowadays, but especially with the younger guys of you know, you should probably have a good cardiovascular system if you're going to play a wind instrument. Like it just probably makes sense. Probably shouldn't, you know, as much as we all love James Cotton, you probably don't want to, you know, look like that when you're 85 or however old he was.
No.
But there should be a, because it's a respect to your craft too. It's like if your vessel is in shape, if your vessel is, you know, hydrated and well oxygenated, you're going to play better. It doesn't matter how much technique you know. If you're putting yourself in a position to succeed if you are in better shape, because that's what being in shape is. In shape means how fit you are to do anything in life. And you know, it just makes sense. Yeah, there's a lot of really fit harmonica players. Will Wild is jacked. Like he's like a big boy. And yeah, there's a lot of other ones like Sai is like, you know, he's like
fit. Federico, like we were working out in Seoul at the Harmonica Festival.
Yeah, Philippe is like really into running.
And yoga.
There's a lot of them. And yoga, yeah. Well, that actually makes complete sense why he's into yoga. that if there was any two things that went together, it's Philippe and yoga.
Yeah, he showed us some exercises in Seoul.
Yeah. No, he strikes me as someone who, like, before he goes on stage is very like this and then just busts it out.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was great. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us.
Of course. Yeah. Yeah, it was really fun. I always love talking to you, man.
And everybody else, thank you for tuning in. Check out the description box below. We thought of a nice new topic for the upcoming Harmonica Challenge on Twitch. I don't know, this might be a working title, but it's called Special Effects Challenge. So it's all about recording yourself and then messing up the recording with effects. Like, get creative, you know? Like, use your computer, whatever. You can also use your effect pedals and stuff. But yeah, this could be really experimental too. Classical, contemporary, whatever.
I'll tell you a quick story before we go. Is that I was just like I said, I was just in India and I got invited to play at the Tibetan Institute of the Arts.
Oh, I saw that video. Yeah.
So what was interesting about that was the mic that they gave me. I didn't realize how much reverb they had put on it. It was like, it was like playing in like an echo chamber. I couldn't believe how much reverb there was. So when I listened, so like I was playing, so like I would play like a whatever phrase, and then I would hear it just go whoa whoa whoa, 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 whoa.
Yeah.
Like to the back of the house.
But
That's
was it
why at
like
the
a
beginning,
big venue, actually, kind of?
It was just like a I don't know, it was like 500 people. Like it was
Okay.
like, it was pretty big.
But did they have like different speakers spread across the room?
Yeah. So but the mic itself had so much reverb on it, like whoever
Yeah.
the sound guy was. So I was playing, so like I would play like a long note, and then it almost created like a counterpoint to what I was playing. So that was like a very, like, I had no idea. I just was improvising. I had no idea what I'm going to play. So it ended up being my special effect.
Yeah.
Was just all this. It was like a swirling mix of chromaticism. It was cool.
But maybe it wasn't solely reverb, because like I remember playing at the Asia Pacific Harmonica Festival, which was like very big venue and also like several speakers spread across the room. And the problem was basically that they weren't synced. Kind of.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that makes sense.
So this could possibly happen in those countries. I don't know.
Yeah.
So then
Yeah,
you get this
definitely.
kind of echo or slap bag effect too, which is kind of cool, but interesting.
I thought it was super cool. I was like, I got off stage, and my sister,
Yeah.
who was in the audience, said to me, she's like, how did you do that? I was like, what do you mean? She's like, it sounded like there were like 3 harmonicas playing. I was like, oh no, that was the sound guy. That wasn't me.
Yeah, it's a cool sound.
Yeah, it was fun.
Yeah, and then I also got all your links in the description box, so people can check out your book. Order it on Amazon, Beyond Breath, The Journey of a Harmonica Player. You got the Substack to read some of the articles there, which is amazing. And yeah, follow us on Instagram and whatever. Thank you for tuning in. We'll keep you updated on the next Hohner Live events. I think we're going to talk to Philippe again after some years next week, because we got these master workshops coming up in Berlin in late May. So we're both going to teach there, and we're just going to, talk about this, give a slight preview. Yeah.
Yeah, man.
Nice.
Tell him I say hi. I haven't talked to him in a while.
Yeah. I mean, that's a pity. He's not coming to the Hohner Festival. But yeah.
Cool, man.
Wonderful. Thank you for tuning in, everybody. See you soon. Bye-bye.
My lady, you know me, no fi give up on you never. Wanna be with you forever, 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 forever. Oh baby, where we they go? Now forward and far, backward never. Them they pray make we run down never, 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 never. I'ma get back low. Girl, you're the best I know. Our next move, they never know. They never know. Money go check low. Girl, you're the best.